chapter 2. So chapter 2 is about switching. So as you know, this CCNA2 stuff is about switching. So we're going to study switching technology, routing technology, and wireless. So yeah. So yeah, I'm going to combine these two chapters in one. So we know what a switch does. It's going to link end devices, then connect them to a router. So let me open my packet tracer. My packet tracer. So I'm going to put a switch here. And one laptop, two laptops. Yeah. So all these devices, if I open the switch, inside there is something called a table, a MAC address table. So enable, show MAC address table. Okay. So you see, that table is what? Any PC that is connected to the switch with a port, the switch is going to record the MAC address of a device. So if I use this guy, so for now, nothing is connected. So the MAC address is empty. You see port, there is no port, there is no what, there is no MAC address, and VLAN. So now let's link these things to. Now let's check again. So still nothing. Now we're going to generate some traffic. We're going to put IP addresses, for example, like 192.168.1.1. I'll leave it like that for now. And get the standard subnets because there is no router, so there is no default gateway. So I'll copy this guy, copy, I come here. I do number 2. Oh, sorry. 2 default subnet mask. I come here, desktop. 3 default subnet mask. I go back to my switch. I check if there is something in show MAC address table. At least I can see that there is something on port F3. I have a MAC address here of a PC. So I'm going to ping each other and see what will happen. Ping. Ping myself, it's fine. I'm going to ping someone else, PC2. It's fine. They all belong to the same network because it's the default subnet. So we didn't borrow, we didn't do anything. So now that there is traffic, let's check on the MAC address table. Now you can see that that switch did record on port 1. This is the MAC address of PC1. On port 3, this is the MAC address of PC3. And on port 2, this is the MAC address of PC2. This is what we call MAC address table. So that if PC1 want to communicate with PC2, the switch knows that, PC1 want to communicate with PC2. PC2 is linked to my port number 2. So it's going to forward the frame there. If PC1 want to communicate with a MAC address that is not listed on the MAC address table, is going to broadcast to send to all the ports. And the guy that MAC address belongs to will reply. So now when PC1 want to communicate with PC2, the frame will come to the switch. So how the switch will forward the frame to PC2, we have two ways. It can read the entire frame. It can read the entire frame. If there is no errors, then it's forward. So this one we call it stored and forward. It receives the entire frame, ensures that the frame is valid, then forwarded. Else, you can check some few fields and just send it. This one we call it cut-through switching. Forward the frame immediately after determining the destination MAC address. It doesn't check if all good or what. So this is what is done by this switch. Now we're going to give you more explanation about store and forward, more explanation about cut through, and yeah, so it's something very simple. So it's a very short chapter. It's about knowing what a MAC address is, what is the difference between store and forward switching and cut through switching. Anything else is just some. Now, what is most important is chapter 3, VLANs. So VLANs, something very simple and easy. So in the old days, normally if you're all first year student, you stay on the first floor. If you're all second year student, you go to second floor. If you're all third year student, you go to third floor. But nowadays, you can sit anywhere and the switch can still know you as first year student, second year student, third year student. The switch doesn't need to know that because you are at first floor, you are first year student. So first year student can sit on third floor anywhere, but the switch will recognize you. How it does, it's the VLAN. I will configure a port on my switch. If you come and you plug your PC to that port, it means you belong to third year student or first year student or second year student. So you don't need to physically be at a place. You can move anywhere, but the configs are done on this switch. So here in VLAN 2, it's for IT. They can sit first floor, they can sit second floor, they can sit third floor, but they belong to the same department. because the switch will know them according to the port you configured. So have a look and we continue. So you see, for example, the benefit of VLAN design. If I take this switch, I can see that PC1 is plugged to this port F11. F11 is configured as VLAN 10. So it means if you are a PC and you plug your PC to that port, it means automatically you fall in VLAN 10. That is for faculty. Port 18, I did configure for VLAN 20 for student. If you come and you plug your PC to that port, it means you're a student. It will put you in the virtual class of students. So this is something like that we're going to configure. So have a look on this, then we continue. Okay, we continue. So to do the config, it's very, very, very simple. Value of 1,500 Rand. So if I'm in my switch, I tap show VLAN brief. It's going to list all the VLANs that are configured in my switch. So I have VLAN 1. The default VLAN is VLAN 1. And if you didn't configure any VLAN, all your ports belong to VLAN 1. We can never delete VLAN 1. It's the default. These guys down here, it's you're just there for fun. It's just for something else. It's not configured. We are just there for the system. So by default, the VLAN 1 is the default. We cannot delete, and all the ports belong to that VLAN. You see? So we can read here. Okay, so it's very simple. This one, you see, yeah, we cannot delete. So at a later stage, we're going to configure something called native VLAN and management VLAN. So if nothing is configured, the default VLAN is the default native VLAN, default management VLAN, and all the ports will belong to. Now, if we need to create, so how many types of VLAN do we have? We have 5 types. Data VLAN, it's for our normal data, videos, I send email, I download stuff for data, email, web. Native VLAN, it's something we'll check a bit later. Each frame that will arrive at the switch will normally get a stamp, like me data I come from VLAN 10. So I will have a stamp on it, VLAN 10. Or me, I'm a data coming from VLAN 20. I have a stamp. So if a a frame comes and there is no stamp, we don't know in which VLAN it belongs to, we say it belongs to the native VLAN. Then we have management VLAN. You're at home, you want to remotely log on your switch to do some stuff. And switch virtual interface, telnet, SSH, management VLAN. Then we have also the voice VLAN. If you have some IP phones, you create a dedicated VLAN for voice, where all your IP phones will belong to. Then the last one is, so we have voice, management, native data. What is the fourth one? It's anyway default, yeah. So we have default VLAN, data VLAN, native, and okay, so we know what the definition of a VLAN. We know the port. If you plug your PC to a port, you'll get linked to a virtual class. You know how many types of VLAN do we have? Then how to configure. There is something called trunk. So a trunk port is a trunk. So if PC1 is connected to F011, it means all these data are from VLAN 10 only. PC2, all data are for VLAN 20 only. F06 will receive data from VLAN 30 only. If a switch needs to forward this data to somewhere, you can see that F01 is a port that will carry many frames from different VLANs. So we'll call it a trunk port. The other ones are called access port because we carry only one type of VLAN. F01 will carry VLAN from many frames from VLAN 10, from VLAN 20, VLAN 30. We will all go via F01 to go somewhere. So F01 is called a trunk port. So a trunk port allows more than one VLAN and all this stuff. After that, okay, now we just need to, so when you configure a VLAN in the frame, you'll have a stamp. You say, I come from VLAN 10. See VLAN ID. Because of that field, the switch will know that, you come from VLAN 10. You come from VLAN 20 or 30. Now, what is more important is how to configure. So to configure VLAN, it's very simple. Very simple. We have two steps. You create the name. After that, you assign port to that VLAN. That's all. So you see by default, if you don't create any VLANs, they all belong to the default VLAN, VLAN 1. Now, if you create, how to create, conft VLAN 10 name student, and you see, and copy run start. I'm going to show you an example. This is an example. I'm on S1, conft VLAN 20 name student. It means I just created a VLAN 20 and the name of that VLAN is student. So have a look on this slide and we continue. Any questions? So if you have questions, as you know, just unmute yourself. Then feel free to ask your question. We continue. So to create a VLAN, conft VLAN 20, it depends on your question paper, and you give a name. Now you created your VLAN or your class or your office. You can say office for marketing department or VLAN for marketing department. Now, after that, you assign port to that VLAN. It means if you come and you plug your PC to that port, you'll belong to that department. That's all. Nothing else. So to assign port, this is how we do port assignment. Conft, you go to interface F01, for example, switch port mode access to say you're going to carry data for only VLAN, for only one VLAN. If I say switch port mode trunk, it means that port will carry data from different type of VLANs. Access means only one VLAN. Then switch port access VLAN 10. So F01 will belong to VLAN 10. This is a clear example. So take your time to check that. I'll be back in 1 minute only. Okay, we continue. We continue. Okay, this one is. So this is an example. Okay, this one for data and voice, especially for voice. Okay, for voice, there is a type of a way of doing that. MLS QS. Okay, we don't deal with that, but it's good to know. If you want to plug a IP phone on a port, this is recommend. This is what you have to do. If in your company you have IP phones, then this is the command you have to do. So you see here on port F018, this guy is connected. Then you create a VLAN 20 name student, for example, to carry data. Then you create another VLAN 150 name voice, and you assign this port to VLAN 20 for voice, for normal data, like what we switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 10. It means this port belongs to VLAN 10. But because I plug a IP phone, I need to add the voice config also. This is how we add. So F018, I have my normal PC, that's what we did before, and a voice IP. You create for the data, VLAN 20, then you create for voice. You go to the interface, you assign that port to VLAN 20, and you add the config for the voice. You can also check that. Okay, we continue. So now, if you want to verify VLANs, you can start show VLAN summary. It will show you how many VLANs you created and other information. We'll get used to when we do the. You can also tap show VLAN brief or show VLAN ID now, VLAN 10, or show VLAN name, or show VLAN summary. So these are some new comments we'll use. All the VLANs that you will create, all this information will get stored in a file. In that, the name of that file is vlan.dat. Anything related to VLAN, it will get recorded in a file called vlan.dat. So if you want to work on a switch and you don't delete that file, you don't clear the switch, and people have created some VLANs already, assigning some port, you won't be able to work on that switch. So you need to clear that file to delete it. So this one is very important when we start the physical labs, because CCNP students, we are working there, we need to delete them. So check this and we continue. Okay, I think I'm going to do a quick demo for you, and next time you can continue with the trunk, because the trunk is something a bit big. Yeah. DTP is Dynamic Trunk Protocol. You can configure a port as trunk, or you can enable a protocol called DTP to automatically assign the trunking to port. So we're not going to do that now. So what we did today is the introduction of VLANs. So I'm going to create something. So here, let's say PC1, PC2, PC3. You can see that PC1 can ping PC3 because why? If I come here, PC3, it can ping because I didn't create any VLANs. So if I go to my switch, enable, enable, show VLAN, question mark, you can see. I can use show VLAN brief, show VLAN ID, or show VLAN name. So let's say show VLAN brief. You see, there is only one VLAN, and all the ports belong to that single VLAN. Let me minimize my packet tracer stuff. Option, reference, font. I'll put 15, 15. Yeah, so now it's more clear. So by default, I have VLAN 1. We all belong to the same VLAN, so we can ping each other. This is from different VLANs, they cannot communicate. So let's create. So PC1, I'll say it will belong to VLAN, a PC student. Let's say MPC student, PC trainer, PC manager. So because we belong, I didn't create any VLANs, we belong to the same VLAN, the default. So we can ping each other. If I create something, we won't be able to ping each other anymore. You can see that F01, F01 will be for VLAN student. So I'll say VLAN 10 student, and the name will be student. PC2, oh, yeah. VLAN 30, name manager. Here, VLAN 20, name trainer. So I'm going to create my VLANs on my switch. So for now, you can see that I only have one VLAN, the default VLAN. All the ports belong to the same VLAN. So tap now. You can also tap show VLAN. No. Conft VLAN 10 name student. I exit. I create VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 20, name trainer. Exit. I create VLAN 30, name managers. I exit. Do copy, run, start. You see, this is how we create VLAN. Okay, and now if I want to view, so I can exit here, show VLAN brief. Now you can see that I have VLAN 10, this is the name. VLAN 20, this is the name. VLAN 30, this is the name. Now, I can see F01 is for VLAN 10 student. So I go to F01, conft, interface FA01. I'm going to assign to put that port in VLAN 10. It means if you come and plug your PC to port 1, you belong to VLAN 10, to student. Switch port mode access. It means you carry only one VLAN. Switch port access VLAN 10. You see. Exit. F02 for VLAN 20. Interface FA02. Switch port mode access. It means you carry only data for VLAN 20 only. Switch port access VLAN 20. I exit. I do the same thing for the other port F03. Interface FA03. Switch port mode access. Switch port access VLAN 30. Do copy, run, start. And show VLAN brief. Now you see that in VLAN 20, VLAN 10, port F01 belongs to. So F01 is no longer part of the default VLAN, but this port belongs to VLAN 10 student. Port 2 also is no longer on top there. It has been assigned to a VLAN. And this one. Now, if PC student want to ping managers, you see before it was working, now it won't work because now we don't belong to the same office anymore. It's for security purpose. So yeah, that's all for today. This is what you call VLANs. Yeah. Next time on Monday, we'll continue with the trunk. So please go through it, practice a bit with this small stuff, and yeah. Any questions?